Welcome to Zscaler Pulse, a monthly podcast brought to you by the Zenith community team that is aimed at empowering our audience to better understand Zscaler products, the Zenith community, and the Zero Trust industry. We're going to cover some updates around, the community as well as our products and services. Hi, I'm Ben Garrison, program manager for the Zenith community. Don't even know my own title. And I am joined by my co-host, Huxley Dunsany, who is the self-proclaimed overly baked potato. I don't know why.
If you've been watching any of our other prior recordings, you'll notice I'm working on my lighting situation so I don't just look like a glowing circle in the center of the screen.
Yeah, you definitely would like the glowing head, but it's so funny. And we're also joined by the overly dressed Nathan Howe, who is here to spill all of the Zscaler product secrets um, today on the show. So we're really happy and grateful that Nathan Howe, who's our VP of Innovation, can take some time out of a busy day and come hang out with us on this silly podcast that we have going on.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks, Huxley. Good to be here. I have to dress up because I need to make an impression. So that will make up for the what's missing behind, just to make it all look good in the front. That's the idea.
I think from now on, I'm gonna get the shirt that has the tie and the tux on it, so I can be casual yet also professional at the same time.
We can
It's a good
probably
idea.
expense that.
I'd say if we can even have a Zscaler logo, like a badge like this, and then on it as well, it actually work out.
Then it's
Yep,
official.
Yeah.
perfect. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you again, Nathan, for joining us. We're really excited to have you. And I'm just going to kind of get things started here. You are the Zscaler Global Vice President of Innovation, which is honestly a really awesome title, but it's so big that it almost covers too much ground. And I'm just wondering, can you just give us a little insight into like what kind of work do you do? What kind of challenges are you solving?
Yeah, so I'm. Thanks, actually. Like, honestly, we've known each other for probably 6, 7 years now, and if not longer. And when I first started here, I was part of the ZPA team. We focused on that was
Mm,
what was called emerging technologies back then, and the idea in emerging technologies ultimately became innovation. The whole idea is really to play with all the cool new toys and see what works
mm.
and what doesn't work. And it's a pretty cool place to be in. Like I get to have tech next to me I can't show on camera, but there's stuff on over here that is that's all like running away on 5G networks and other things that are really cool, and we get to play with. But the goal of the job is to kind of see what can work for us, what can't work for us, where can we put investment, time, energy into evolving not only the core products, but that's kind of outside our remit. We kind of focus on the things on the periphery, the things that are outside of the core Zscaler, ZIA, ZPA, ZDXs, and we get to work on really interesting things. So like I said, cellular or quantum encryption or with AI as well. And how AI, you're going to hear AI everywhere, but more about how AI can affect certain little bits of our industry. For example, one of the things we're working on is how do we use it to detect anomalies in cellular connectivity, which I'll spend hours on, but not today. So that's kind of a tidbit of where we are, but like it's really about kind of seeing what is the next evolution for where our customers want to go. And that's the one thing for say to anyone listening or seeing this is that if you are a customer or you're interested, we get our inspiration from you. We're not just coming up with ideas because, yeah, that's cool. We have cool ideas, but actually, the rubber meets the road when our customers actually want something. So please come back to us and tell us what we can do. What can we improve? What can we change? What can we innovate on? That's where we get the real kind of innovation from. And we're open to all sorts of ideas.
I love that. That is so cool. And you're right. Like we've known each other a long time. I was at Zscaler when ZPA was just a rumor, and I was a sales engineer talking to customers every day, and they kept asking, all this zero trust stuff you guys are doing on the public internet. I sure wish I could do that for my private apps.
Yeah,
And thankfully, we had a way to address that with the, I remember people whispering, it's the product which must not be named because it was top secret
correct.
stuff.
It really was. It really was. Back in those days. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. Well, thank you for that perspective into what you're doing. And I was doing a little homework before we started this session, and I found you wrote a really interesting blog post on the Zscaler blog a few weeks back, back in February, I think, and it was called "Mobile World Congress: The Demand for Uniformity in Zero Trust." And it's great. It's a really good blog. I really encourage everybody to go read that. But just for somebody who's new to the topic, like what's a big idea that they might want to be thinking about today with regard to uniformity in zero trust?
I mean, this is the kind of the message that you're going to hear a lot from Zscaler, especially around Zenith Live coming up, which is zero trust everywhere. And really, I look at it more of a kind of the uniformity for it is the reason why I use the word uniformity is that it shouldn't be disparate solutions. You shouldn't have a zero trust for your users and a zero trust service for your IoT and OT or your remote users or third parties or partners. And like the idea of zero trust being, of course, absolute nothing happens until you go through it's least privilege access, and nothing happens until you go through authorization, authentication, validation, and so forth. And then doing that for everything. And it seems confusing, but because we started that with users and everybody addressed users, because that was the probably not to say the easiest place to start, but where the most, let's say, modern and mature software platforms were together. So you could use Okta or Microsoft authentication and consume those values. It's much more difficult when it comes to stuff like IoT and OT and workloads and those sort of things. And so my idea of the blog was to talk about why not use one platform for everything? And now that has big implications, of course, and that plays into the products that I just mentioned around cellular connectivity. So it's very easy to say, put software on a client. It's very easy to say, put a tunnel off a firewall or a router or a switch or an SD-WAN, or even to put a forwarding service like a Zscaler Zero Trust branch in a location or cloud forwarding. But then there's stuff that you can't control. And that's the stuff that's way outside driving around the streets that you can't put a wall in around it. You can't put a Wi-Fi gateway in it. It's a sensor somewhere on the train. It's these sort of things. And that's the kind of the last vestige of like what hasn't been touched yet. And that's why for me, it was like, we need to start addressing that in a wider sense. And obviously the blog was to kind of indicate where we are seeing things going in the mobile world and the cellular world and how we want to address things, but it was more about how we can deliver, how our customers can start thinking about, well, why would I have these disparate systems? Why can't I just go with one set of rules and implement them on any type of technology? And yes, there are things that we haven't covered yet, and we'll get to them in the future. That's the innovation we want to hear from our customers. But that's the key is like, let's start bit by bit. We've hit all those things I mentioned before. Now we're going to do cellular and all those devices, and we'll go from there.
Man, that's amazing.
Well,
It's
thanks.
a huge, huge swath of technology that we can now bring this zero trust vision to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, I get shocked every day with what's out there. And the
Mm.
one my colleagues keep me talk about all the time is being an Australian. And Ben, you mentioned before we're going to start, you're going to make fun of me for being Australian, but I'm going to get to it first.
Darn it.
So what I found out, and as everybody knows, Australia was founded as a prison colony for the British, right? So which again, then almost going to call me British, but I'm not going to let that happen. The what happened is that if you look at prisoners today, prisoners are actually all have ankle trackers, and ankle trackers are all SIM connected. And I didn't know that, and I should have known that because
Wow.
I leave mine at the border when I leave Australia. And fly elsewhere. So these are the kind of that's a good joke. Ben didn't even laugh at that.
That's quality stuff.
Exactly. No, the point being is that there's so many things we just don't consider being SIM connected, and there's I guess an implied notion that they're protected and secure. And what we're seeing is that they're not zero trust. That there needs to be that ubiquity of zero trust. Hence the blog post.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, mobile, and you've talked about mobile, and we have, but I know for a fact that Zscaler is introducing some remarkable stuff on mobile. You've already talked about it, and I think mobile is, like you just said, that last frontier, not last, but that one
One off,
frontier,
yeah,
yeah, that one frontier where it's like, how do you tackle mobile when they're on different networks. They're on Wi-Fi. They're walking through the airport. They're walking through the library. They're bouncing off of not only wireless towers, but they're bouncing off of Wi-Fi signals. Not only that, but Bluetooth signals.
yeah,
They're NFCs, right? There are so many different signals that this phone is being exposed to.
yeah.
So how can you fill us in a little bit about how Zscaler is tackling this very scary mobile device that, we know most of the hacks that have happened have been from, spoofing an SMS or spoofing some type of two-factor through text
Yeah,
message, SIM card duplication or cloning,
yeah,
right? Those types of things. So what can you tip us in without, I mean, maybe you can give us all the secrets, but what can you
yeah.
tell us more about how Zscaler is tackling this area?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to break this into two parts because you did then what everyone does when we think about SIM cards and cellular connectivity. They went to the mobile phone,
Yeah.
and that's quite common because I mean it's quite funny because even my mindset is let me get a SIM and stick it in my device. But what we're actually addressing is from the Zscaler cellular point is more on the IoT devices, the things you can't run software on. The reason why I'm saying that intentionally is that we already have, from a Zscaler point of view, to answer your question, Ben, the client connector, which is the software that runs on a device. And that allows you, like, to your point, Ben, if wherever, any way you can push a packet, whether it be a Bluetooth interface, you can plug a USB-C Ethernet card into it nowadays. You can plug you do Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G. You want to have that ubiquity of connectivity and protection of that one place. You want to be running client connector, and the end user experience of client connector is there. It's proven it works very, very well on any network. So if you fail from 4G to 5G or Wi-Fi or whatever, it'll always be there. The cellular piece, to spin back to that, is primarily focused on the devices that will not go into other networks. They'll stay on 4G, 5G. Your cars, your prisoner trackers, your sensors on buildings, your EV chargers. I mean, the drones that fly in the sky, the robots that walk down the street, in Disneyland or whatever. They're not on traditional networks because they have to have a wide range of connectivity, and that's where that next level comes in. So to answer your question, Ben, I think it's the client side of things. It's definitely for the end user kind of side of things. Definitely client connector, and from there to solve against a lot of the challenges you can do with Zscaler being the path to apply policy. You can control a lot of the security there. However, the SIM swapping thing is something that we can't control on the end device, on a user device, because those SIMs are bought from T-Mobile or Deutsche Telekom or Telstra or whatever it is in the world. On the IoT side, we can control that. So the Zscaler cellular solution actually has a functionality that we don't allow for cloning of SIMs, because the customer from Zscaler actually ends up owning those SIMs and controlling the SIMs themselves. There is no way for anyone to clone those, and even in the policy engine and service, there's no way to do that. So it's one of those challenges. Like, we don't, by the way, to be fully clear, we don't want to be a telco to compete with the Deutsche Telekoms and Verizons of the world. That's there. We want to be able to leverage their infrastructure and their network to provide zero trust for IoT devices. And that's where the benefits come in. So yeah, it's a weird thing. We get into that cellular world and becomes so disparate, so diverse, so quick. I like to be very clear, like, end user experience, end users, let's get on the client side software and all the value and positive that brings. And then there's the IoT stuff, which is that last frontier, as you mentioned.
Well, I think, like you mentioned, with like the ankle monitors and that kind of stuff, but then also from a public service or from a, first responders type situation, I can think of, back in my military days, I can think of a few devices that were on those networks that did communicate, especially from a first responder, from health, from law, etc.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure those networks are that connection is secure, as well. And so I think that's really cool. And is there a place where people can go and learn more about what we're doing in that mobile space?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is come to Zenith Live. You'll see a lot there. We're going to do a lot of announcements and discussions around what exactly we'll be doing in the space. There will be in conjunction with Zenith Live, there'll be a launch of a new website, which is not live at the moment, but it will go live around Zenith Live, and we'll have, that's a weird thing to say, go live around Zenith Live. And we'll have, it works, but we'll have other content as well. So there'll be blogs, there'll be videos, there'll be other content coming up about this. But I think Zenith Live is the key. Come and visit us. There'll be a number of things going on at Zenith Live. There'll be a breakout specifically on this topic. There'll be an innovation booth where you can come and grab some cool swag and talk to us and demo it and see how things are working. But beyond that, then we'll also have some customer examples of customers who are already using it today, do some pretty cool things, whether it be protecting or enabling secure connectivity for cranes that manufacture boats, or through to delivery of logistics topics. I'm not going to give all the stories away. There's a lot there. And if you want to know more, there's a little bit of a kind of URL over my shoulder that you go that you can visit some of the early insights as to what we're doing. For those interested, which shoulder it is, I'll let you figure it out.
Love a challenge.
Or just come to Vegas and take them out for some brandy, and we'll see.
Well, Vegas or Prague, depending on where you want to, wherever you are listening to this podcast in. So yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
all
I
relative.
think this podcast will be out probably the week prior to Zenith Live. I would definitely encourage anyone that is going to Zenith Live to attend the mobile breakout sessions. By now, you should probably already have your plane tickets and everything already purchased and ready to go. If not, then I don't know what to tell you. But definitely come out, check out the breakout sessions, and especially around mobile and that kind of stuff, because I think that's going to be something that your organization is going to want to leverage as we move forward.
Yeah, for sure. And it's such a good example of what you were talking about, Nathan, that back and forth flow between Zscaler and customers. It's not just a
Yeah.
one-way experience.
No, we're stunned every day. Every day I'm here, I'm learning something new about a different cellular connectivity. I'm like, really? Like, and you'd be surprised. And I'm excited to hear from everybody here what they've got up their sleeves because we'd love to help you protect it.
And you're going to be, are you present? You're presenting at Zenith Live, right? At
Yeah,
the,
I'll be presenting. Yeah, you'll see me on stage. Yeah, and then you can ask me questions. And in fact, if you can't get into the breakouts, grab me and talk to me anytime. I'm happy to show you things in action. We have plenty of little side demos we can do as well. So we're happy to show to any customer who wants to see it.
perfect. I'll be there as well. I won't be on the stage because they don't want me on the stage, but I'll be at the community booth. So come check.
Cool.
Actually, I'm sorry, the Cyber Academy booth, which is a change from last year, but it's going to be just as amazing. It's going to be big. It's going to be in the center of the expo hall, right behind the main Zscaler booth. We're going to literally roll out the red carpet for you, and you come through the Cyber Academy booth, and you're going to see the wonderful community experience with our Academy team for training and certifications. So make sure you come check out not only Nathan during the keynote
Absolutely.
session,
I'll
but
come
then
see you, Ben. Don't worry. I'll see you there.
oh yeah, come yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Awesome. I'll be with you in spirit.
We're gonna have to get Huxley on to do. We're gonna do. I think next not this year, but maybe next year we'll do one of these live at Zenith Live,
Yeah.
which does sound strange saying. It's almost like saying VIN number.
Yeah,
ATM
that's
machine.
yeah,
I
But
kind of
either way, I'm
feel
oh
looking
my,
forward to it.
I have
yeah,
the ick of
absolutely.
just saying live at Zenith Live, but we'll fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
But thanks, Nathan. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you. And Huxley, as always, a pleasure working with you. Any parting last words before we bid everyone to do?
Just be sure to challenge us at all times. I think that's the one thing that I enjoy the most. And in fact, actually, especially now with this pod, let's challenge Ben and Huxley to come up with some interesting topics as well. Like they got a great set of content, but if you guys come back with and push them with some questions and thoughts, that becomes even more interesting. And I can come back on and make fun of whatever Australian culture you like as well, or
I think the
British.
biggest challenge is going to be coming up with some good dad jokes. I think that's going to have to be a
We have to work on our competition there, that's for sure.
thing.
Sounds like a good time.
All right. Well, hey, everyone, thanks again, and we'll see you on the community. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.